The first fight you're going to see today, however, is going to be Frankie Swindell. Goes up against a Russian fighter by the name of Alex Zolkin. And Swindell has certainly been in the ring with a lot of good fighters.
Sure, Frankie's been in with a lot of good fighters. He fought for the world title as a light heavyweight, fought Prince Charles Williams, and now as a heavyweight. I mean, he dropped Jeremy Williams last year with a big right hand. He's probably had the tougher competition of the two.
So the WBC Continental Americas Championship, along with this opening match, Swindell goes up against Zolkin, and our ring announcer, Michael Buffer, is ready for today's introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Hotel, Casino, and Theme Park of Las Vegas, Nevada, Top Rank Incorporated presents a special 10-round bout in the heavyweight division. When the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Kenny Bayless. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black trunks with gold letters, weighing 235 pounds, from Nashville, Tennessee. His professional record, 28-11 with one draw, 19 KOs. Introducing Frankie Swindell. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the red trunks, weighing in at 247 pounds. This native of Russia now is fighting out of Columbus, Ohio. His professional record, 16-2 with 12 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexander Zolkin.
Okay, fellas, I know the rules of the dressing room. I want to caution you to obey my commands at all times. Touch gloves, good luck to both of you.
Kenny Bayless will be the third man in the ring here with Frankie Swindell and Alexander Zolkin. And we'll find out exactly how this Russian, who now fights out of Columbus, Ohio, can do with that 16-2 record, because Frankie Swindell, and before this fight is over, unless it ends very quickly, will try to document some of the great fights he has been in, and he's been in with a lot of them. Brings a pretty good rotund body into this fight with Zolkin, and as Bob pointed out, a good, strong former Russian fighter, 6'5", 247. We'll find out how well Alexander can do against a very determined Frankie Swindell.
Yeah, Frankie's determined, but just looking at him here in the first round, I don't think he was so determined in the gym, Sam. He's very heavy. He was a former light heavyweight, had everything amateur in the United States, but he's just not a super heavyweight like this. Zolkin, on the other hand, fills out 6'5". I mean, he's in tremendous condition. I just saw him wreck Jerry Jones in his last fight in 2 rounds, and I think he's going to be too big and too strong for Frankie here, but we'll have to see.
Frankie Swindell, one of the only fighters you'll find that turns the normal boxing trunks into what looks like spandex shorts that he wears here in the ring once again here in Las Vegas. And again, he's just prodding in, waiting to see what the Russian can throw at him. As Frankie Swindell fighting 28-11-1 with 19 by knockouts. He, by the way, has 7 first-round knockouts, 7 in the second, and 2 in the third. The Russian has got 3 in the first, 2 in the second, and has not scored a third-round knockout. So both, if they're going to put anybody away, would be early in this fight.
Zolkin is so much bigger, and Swindell's fought tons of southpaws. I don't think that'll bother him that much, because he had over 200 amateur fights representing the great state of Tennessee. But just the size difference of the two of them, I think will be bigger is better in this case. I think, and with the conditioning level being favoring Zolkin, you can't count Frankie Swindell out, especially he shows good punching power early in the fight. He's got to hurt Zolkin here early if he's going to have a chance here.
Zolkin, by the way, who fought all of his amateur careers in Russia, immigrated to Canada, where he fought most all of his professional career, turned when he moved to Canada. So all of his experience in the professional ranks has been either in the States or in Canada, and none of that over in Europe, interesting enough. Swindell going down, but it was just a push. Kenny Bayless calling it as such. They're set to fight 10 rounds.
That's what they want Zolkin to do, work behind that good right jab there and hit Frankie Swindell with the straight left hand coming off that. Use that good leverage that he's got in his favor.
Swindell, the only place that he would be able to fight today, obviously, would be on the chest of the former Russian national champion. Right now, that big, long lead right jab is keeping him well at bay.
Frankie knows how to fight a southpaw too. You notice he tried to throw the left hook there early in the round, and that's the punch that you can really, if it comes after a combination, you can really catch a southpaw with.
So they fought the first round of a scheduled 10-rounder. This is the Grand Garden Ballroom here at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. You see a beautiful shot there. Frankie Swindell along with Zolkin. The Russian fighter had fought through the first round. Probably nothing earth-shattering in the first round other than to establish, I think, that good long lead jab of Zolkin, and Swindell, we know, being a little out of shape, to say the least.
Here we see Frankie trying that long looping left hook and the right hand behind it with Zolkin backing up behind the jab.
See in the Frankie Swindell corner.
Stay over to the right, big guy.
James Mullins, his longtime trainer manager, in there with him.
Stay over to the right.
Frankie Swindell has had some great fights, and we'll document those before the fight's over. See, just trying to calm down the Russian fighter here. A little nervous maybe. Start this one in Vegas. Round 2 of a scheduled 10-rounder. Frankie Swindell in the black. And Alexander Zolkin comes out in the red trunks. Again, a former Russian national champion fighting out of Columbus, Ohio. 29 years of age, 6'5", 247, while Swindell only 5'10 and a half, 30 years of age at 235.
Zolkin is the project of John Johnson, the former manager of Buster Douglas, the heavyweight champion of the world that upset Mike Tyson. And he moved him out there. You know, the kid was fighting very amateurish and tall and very stiff. And over the last few years, they've settled him down. You can't imagine what he looked like at first. You know, they're settling in, learning, teaching him how to bend, and he's really improving leaps and bounds.
You can see him kind of stalking his play here. Swindell just kind of pawing away most of those jabs. Swindell, as a matter of fact, won the USBA light heavyweight title in May of 1988 with a 12-round win over Jeff Thompson. That was after a no contest against Vaughn Hooks for that same title. He lost the IBF light heavyweight championship to Charles Williams. Actually, Williams defending his title. That was a title shot. Knocked out in the 8th round there. Lost the WBO light heavyweight title shot against Michael Moore.
Oh, and wasn't that a fight?
That was a knockout in the 6th round, and then also lost a cruiserweight USBA title in a title shot there to Al Cole. Knocked out in the 11th as he battled Cool Al all the way to near the end of the fight.
Right. Well, Frankie's had a career marked. He's got ability. You know, early on in his career, he was knocked a lot of guys out in the light heavyweight division. But as he's allowed himself to move up, it's poor conditioning generally. The Cole fight, he got tired. The Williams fight, he got tired. He matched very well with these guys early, but when conditioning became a factor, Frankie wasn't ready. And like I said, at this weight, it's hard to imagine that he could be really well conditioned.
By the way, after that last fight in the cruiserweight to Al Cole, he's had some good fights, but has not been able to get over the hump against some great fighters, or good fighters. Francisco Damiani, along with Tony Tucker, also Michael Moore, got a rematch, lost again. And Jeremy Williams, who was on our main event card here in Las Vegas, was also one that stopped Frankie Swindell and their fights after that loss again to Al Cole for the cruiserweight title. See a pretty good left hand thrown by Zolkin, if he ever gets that on. And there it is, a straight left hand. And you can see Swindell saying, yep, he hit it. Try it again.
No, Frankie's trying to lure him in and hit him with a counter shot because he doesn't probably feel he's strong enough just to pull Zolkin backwards. He's got to, take advantage. He's a very experienced fighter. He's even a little cute down there. That's what he's trying to torment Zolkin a little bit, but all the time he's doing that, Zolkin's winning this fight. Frankie tried to counter the right hand and reach the big Russian.
You made an excellent point on the way. Zolkin no longer that more or less stand-up European style, crouching and then kind of ducks under some punches very nicely as he ends. So both of these heavyweights, Frankie Swindell mostly trying to do it off of counters, while of course Alexander Zolkin trying to do it by the good straight hand. He's on the saddles and a good strong left hand, and he's shown that he's got some pretty good power in it already. He's got 12 knockouts in his 16 wins, 16-2 so far as a pro.
And those two losses both very tough. I mean, he was life and death. Here's the replay here as Zolkin keeps Frankie on the outside, and Frankie tries to torment him, telling him that didn't really hurt him. So go ahead and do it again.
Right, and Laurie Mann, as you pointed out, trying to throw some punches to him. By the way, you saw a moment ago, Abel Sanchez is also working that corner of Zolkin. He's working on the inside of the ropes, working on the, got to keep him cleaned up there and make sure there weren't any cuts. So he's got a nice corner working there. Likewise on the other side, both are ready, and here we go. This is round 3 of a scheduled 10-rounder. On the left, Frankie Swindell. On the right, Alexander Zolkin. And again, he's 16-2, looking for another victory and maybe his 13th knockout if he can get by Swindell. I made mention those 2 losses have come a little bit difficultly. He lost to Mike Hunter. Who else has not gone 12 rounds with Mike Hunter? That for the USBA title. And that was in Las Vegas. He also lost to Tony Tubbs. He lost that one in a 10-round decision. So he's been the distance in his only 2 losses so far in his 16-2 record.
The Tubbs fight was a very controversial decision. Zolkin backed Tubbs up and hammered him, really 7 out of the 10 rounds and lost a close decision in the fight. And the Hunter fight, as we've seen Mike Hunter before, he's not an easy guy for anybody to fight. That was also a controversial points loss. But you can really see him learning how to relax, being limber. He's using those head feints that they want him to use. He's not stiff. He's got his weight evenly balanced as opposed to having on the back foot that he'd started his career doing. So you can really see a lot of improvement in Zolkin.
Zolkin, by the way, has come up with a couple of knockout wins over some names you might recognize. Art Tucker along with J.B. Williamson knocked those 2 guys out. And James Quick Tillis, he won a 10-round decision over Tillis, certainly on the way down from a very good career, but nonetheless some pretty good names that he's got wins over so far.
They brought those guys up to Ohio to fight him and trying to build a base and develop a fan base out there. And they've done a real good job. You heard Frankie a little bit with Frankie's messing with him, but Swindell's eyes are starting to swell up. Although he has landed a couple of right-hand counters in this round, it's not been enough. The sheer volume of punches by Zolkin have him in complete control.
Zolkin, you can see how well, for a guy at 6'5", 247, is able to lead with the right jab and then follows and closes the distance very rapidly with that good left hook that he throws. Pretty good quickness for a heavyweight.
Zolkin's also a good body puncher. He hasn't done it much because Frankie's given him that low angle there and doesn't, really present his body as a real good target. But I've seen him hitting guys in the body. He does a real good job.
Certainly Zolkin is not in the same category as of yet with Corey Sanders. Our South African listeners and viewers certainly will equate to how well he has done, certainly in his way up. But a couple of southpaws in the ring together, and they really have kind of similar styles a little bit here. There's a good right hand by Swindell.
Yes, Swindell's landed 3 or 4 good solid right hands in this round for the first time in the fight.
Zolkin trying to catch Swindell. Swindell able to do much with him. He's trying to take him some punishment. Cleaning up a little ball. 18 seconds of the 3rd round. Well, Swindell again is doing most of the counter punching. However, that will not probably bode well with the officials unless he is able to counter successfully. And not sure that he has with the charging style of Zolkin, as they try to once again get him in a little bit different posture coming in round number 4. But when you're fighting a guy that has the control with the jab, it's difficult to turn it around here.
Here on the replay, we can see Swindell looking to land that right-hand counter. Here, there's the jab in the right hand on Zolkin. Frankie's best in one of his few combinations in the fight. Here's another time he rolls a right hand off the top of Zolkin's forehead. He's backing up, looking to counter Zolkin. And there's, I think that was the same shot there from a different angle.
But you saw with that lead left hook right back up over the top to the southpaw of Zolkin, as he is being encouraged to fight a better round here in round 4 from Abel Sanchez. Round 4, 10-rounder heavyweights on the heavyweight explosion from the MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas, Nevada. Glad you could join us worldwide this afternoon. Sam Smith along with Bob Spagnola here from the Cedric Kushner Sports Network as we travel around the world to bring you the best of the heavyweights. And right now we've got a man at 16-2. In Zolkin, the former Russian national champion, now fighting out of the U.S. in Columbus, Ohio. Frankie Swindell, the journeyman who's been around the block for 28 wins, 11 losses and 1 draw in his illustrious career, and 19 knockouts along the way.
See Frankie starting this round. He's got his gloves open and he's trying to parry away those punches of Zolkin's and then counter him off that rather than just completely lay back. He's trying to shorten up some of the distance here between the two of them.
A quick comment coming out of the Zolkin corner to step over. What he's doing, he's really trying to throw that left hook a little too straight. They want him to get a little different angle and really kind of dig that left hook in
Exactly, and they want him to step over with the straight left hand after the right jab is what they're telling him. But he's trying different things here. He's trying to attack Frankie from different angles. The most impressive thing about him thus far has been his good right jab, which has been the difference of the fight. You take that away, and both guys have landed a lot of power shots.
Kenny Bayless, the third man in the ring, doing one of his normally good jobs here, letting the guys fight. He hasn't had to break them up too much. He's hollered instructions to break. And for the most part, they have heeded those, and it's kept the fight rather briskly moving along here.
That's the mark of a good referee when it's the fourth round and we haven't even noticed him yet.
Yep.
He's doing a good job, Kenny, as always.
One thing about Zolkin that we've noticed here, Bob, is the fact that he is very, very businesslike. I mean, as you pointed out, he's loosened up from his very stiff, as you pointed out, style they got him here in Columbus, Ohio. But he goes about doing everything almost very methodically and just tries to do what he can inside the system that he knows. And that, of course, is the jab and then lead with the combinations that he's able to throw.
Right, and you don't, nothing turn. Our guy learns how to fight and fights a certain style for 7, 8 years, however many years Alex was an amateur over in Russia. You don't just flip a switch and all of a sudden the guy's bending into the knees and laying down. It takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work. And it's hard for a fighter that's been very successful as Zolkin had as an amateur to take a lot of criticism about that style and change it over. But he's been very adept at that, and we're seeing a transformation of him here. And as he steps up in competition, we'll see if he's up to the task.
Well, you made mention he stopped Jerry Jones in 2 rounds out in Lakeside, California in his last fight in December. Boxing Update said that Zolkin looked every bit the part of heavyweight contender. So he is here.
He's landing some good shots off this extreme punch.
Now Swindell, the end of the round. Maybe the wake-up call has been given to Frankie Swindell. We'll find out what happens as they move into round 5. As the former Russian champion goes over for his refreshment in between the rounds here. Well, a rather interesting turn of events there. Certainly something pumped Frankie up, that's for sure.
Yeah, Frankie here trying to finish the round strong, stepping right to him, and Zolkin lands a quick little counter hook as Swindell explains to him that didn't have any effect whatsoever.
Truly the mano-on-mano coming out here at the end of the 4th round.
Frankie's got that, even if he hasn't trained right and isn't in tremendous condition, he's got that mono, that macho, that big ticker. And he's out here, he's got a big crowd, and he'd like to make something happen.
Well, so far, most of the happening has been done by this man. We'll find out as Swindell has suddenly caught fire as he opens the bell for round 5. They're set to go 10. This is the 5th round of the 10-rounder for a schedule. You're at the MGM Grand, one of the new hotels you'll find in the fabulous Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada. And truly, boxing has started to find a renewed vigor here in Las Vegas. Lots of bargaining between Las Vegas and Atlantic City for the major fights, and it's a pretty good battle going between those two cities, as a matter of fact. And now today, with our heavyweight explosion, and a couple of heavyweights here, certainly Zolkin on his way up, and Frankie Swindell trying to furnish some good competition, and so far he is.
Yeah, he's furnishing good competition, but he's getting outpointed 4 punches to 1, and unless he hits Alex Zolkin right on the point of the chin and really hurts him, he's just not doing the kind of work that will enable him to win a decision in this 10-rounder.
Swindell, you made mention a little bit of swelling over the right eye, which would indicate that left jab has found a pretty good, or left hook, excuse me, has found a pretty good home all day on the right eye of Swindell.
But you see Frankie changing his angle there, showing a little head movement. He can fight like a little fighter, but only in spurts. If he could fight like that for a solid 10 rounds, he'd give a lot of heavyweights trouble.
Well, the Russians throw some big punches inside. Just waiting to have him drop his guard and throw a punch of his own. Really can't see him as he comes in with that head-down style, though.
And you can see by the neck of Frankie Swindell, he's always taking a real good punch. Durability has never been his, he's like a Timex. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Well, he's still ticking here in round number 5. One thing Zolkin is now starting to do, look how low that right arm is now getting. He's not He had it at just about his chest. He dropped his weights, and now it's below the waist. Kind of flipping it, kind of an up jab now, as usual.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's been successful with it, but he's bringing himself down to that. And, you know, Frankie is short and he fights short, you know, and Zolkin is tall, so he's really having to bring himself down a low to get to that level of Frankie Swindell, because even though it seems like he'd have good leverage punching downward, actually the guy that's punching upward, as Mike Tyson always showed us, has got a big benefit.
Swindell again just trying to club his way in to try to get something going here off a counter. As Zolkin has pretty much controlled his fight since the very opening bell. Swindell, other than the end of the 4th round, which was a little flurry for him, outside of that, it has not been much today. He has thrown some punches, but it's been top-heavy the other way. There's that little quick right hand he can throw.
Right-handed. But Zolkin, sometimes you got to be satisfied to just to win, you know, and you can't, you know, get in there and exchange punches with the shorter man and put yourself at risk, because he's certainly, if he's doing nothing else, he's winning this fight.
Closing seconds of the 5th round. We'll be halfway through this scheduled 10-rounder on our heavyweight explosion from Las Vegas. Well, like a baseball pitcher, it may be a shutout being thrown by Zolkin, at least on our cards here, and certainly looking over your shoulder there, Bob Spagnola, that's the way you've got it. And it's the unlikelihood that the judges have seen anything different here. He's done what he needed to do, stayed inside of the game plan. For that matter, Swindell's done nothing to get him out of that game plan, though, which has got to be a key for him.
No, he really hasn't. I mean, Frankie's done a few things, but he hasn't done enough of any of them. He's just, and here we see him, Zolkin there with the jab and a nice left uppercut there that landed off of it. Frankie trying to bring him down to that low angle there, but he's just not doing enough. There's Swindell with a jab and gets hit with the uppercut. I think the same punch from a different angle.
Well, there's one nice thing about it when you have a guy in that crouched position, and that uppercut certainly is the weapon, particularly when Swindell ducks that head. The uppercut has worked, and so far it has well through 5 rounds. They're set to fight the 6th round of a 10-rounder, as the Russian on the right, Zolkin, has had pretty much his way against Frankie Swindell through the opening 5 rounds. Swindell, let's see if he tries to pick up his emotion in the fight here a little bit. Anytime he does, he gets the crowd back in it, but so far, other than the end of the 4th round, they've been rather quiet, waiting for something to happen in the fight.
Right, and really it's kind of settled into survival mode by Frankie. He's just fighting enough to keep Zolkin cautious and not just walking to him. But, you know, and you say that right uppercut by Zolkin can be a very effective weapon, left uppercut, excuse me, but at the same time, it's dangerous, you know, when you're facing a right-hander and you're going to throw that uppercut from the outside. You really leave yourself open for that counter right hand. Let's see if Frankie Swindell's capable of getting it in there, making something happen.
Zolkin again starting to slow down his attack is just a little bit more as well. Giving Swindell an opportunity to walk in on it, and Zolkin turns the corners in the corner.
Yeah, he tried to chop him down with that chopping straight left hand afterwards as Frankie pressured him, but he missed that punch, but he let Swindell know it's there.
You made mention of Swindell coming off a good amateur career, and as we've already alluded to, a very good professional career. A little disappointment after he lost particularly all of those championship fights we alluded to after winning the light heavyweight USBA.
Conditioning. He actually had come down to Houston to work as he oftentimes did to prepare for the fight with Prince Charles Williams, and he got cut in sparring and ended up not really being able to prepare him for the fight. But you know, Frankie Swindell's the kind of guy who's going to get a shot at the world title. He's not going to pass it up, and he didn't that time.
Now, of course, on the other side of the hill, just trying to give somebody else an opportunity to get certainly some work, and the former Russian national champions taking advantage of that today. Under a minute to go in round 6.
Yeah, a lot of people got down on Zolkin after the Hunter fight, but who doesn't Mike the Bounty Hunter make look bad? I mean, I've never seen him make anybody look good, even in the couple fights that he's lost. So you know, that I mean, it was a disheartening thing, because he came out to Vegas twice, where he got in 2 big fights, one with Tubbs, and here's Swindell landed a good counter shot there. But you know, a lot of people lost confidence in him, but I think Bruce Trampler working with John Johnson, they brought the kid back, put him in a spot, and he really was really impressive with Jerry Jones knocking him out, a guy that usually brings guys the distance and gives them trouble.
So Zolkin just trying to wait for that one opportunity to get in on top of Frankie Swindell, a little stronger. And so far through 6 rounds, he still controls the fight. Crowd still settling in on their seats here as they watch this preliminary card as a heavyweight explosion. Frankie Swindell along with Alex Zolkin. And again, a good look at Sugar Ray Leonard on the sideline. Almost said Robinson. Sugar Ray Leonard on the sideline, and he's looking on and still doing his work with his television and all kinds of youth camps around the country. Still very much a prominent part of the world of boxing.
Yeah, I'm sure that slip wouldn't have bothered Ray anymore.
Well, I think he tried to emulate him a little bit. Yeah. Even to the point of the tousled shoes.
Put that quarter step on him. Step over, okay?
Jab coming up a little short.
Know what we're saying. All right, now give it to us. He's right there for you. They shorten the punches up and go right there.
That time Swindell says, right on the end of the nose.
Frankie's just, he's taking every opportunity to rest and just not doing the kind of things you got to do to be a winner in this business.
Round 7 of this 10-rounder with Sugar Ray Leonard looking on at ringside, one of the many celebrities looking on the heavyweight explosion here in Vegas. Alexander Zolkin again has been the main man on tonight's card with Frankie Swindell, the man trying to counter as much as he can, unable to throw enough punches to keep the Russian off the top of him, though.
Frankie throws through 2 right hands there to start this round. He might have it in his mind to try to do something, but he's also getting hit with heavier shots by Zolkin as Zolkin shortens up his own distance a little bit, and Frankie's head is starting to show the effect of that continuous punishment by Zolkin. Look at Zolkin breaking down there, getting real loose in front of Frankie Swindell. He just doesn't want to be, the kind of guy that's just a target in there for a guy like Swindell. He's getting off his punches, but if he leaves himself open for a big counter shot from a heavyweight, that could be disastrous. So he's moving his head well and not being so predictable with his movements.
His first fight came in May 10th of 1990, so he, for the most part, has been in Canada and the United States for quite a while. And you would never know it. If this kid walked on and rather than saying anything to you, you'd almost say he's just a kind of a big country type looking kid that walked into the gym and fought. You'd never know. He had that European style, particularly as you pointed out, the way he's a little bit looser, gets down a little bit more, tries to be a little bit more versatile with the punches and what he can and cannot do.
Changing his rhythm there. You sure don't want to be predictable because a heavyweight, an experienced heavyweight, they'll get you out there, let you do something, and then they'll time you and just take your head off. A lot more in this round. Zolkin's kind of getting in the trenches with Swindell, which I feel like he probably feels like Frankie's lost his, that punching power that he's got early in the fight. And they're getting down in the trenches with each other a little bit and making even more of a fight out of it.
Zolkin really is a surprising looking 247. I mean, he does not look like he's that heavy. I guess you'd have to look at those legs. Obviously, would be a major part of that weight, but nonetheless, he doesn't look like a guy that's that heavy.
Right, but he's 6'5", and there was a nice 3-punch combination, hard shots he landed on Frankie Swindell. Put an exclamation point on this round here. But he's big. They claim 6'5", and with those, he's got an incredible span of his shoulders and everything, and you could see. And John Johnson's always telling us about the 40-yard sprints and the vertical leaps, and this guy you see him starting to reach him with that straight left hand, Frankie, and that punch is going to give him trouble as this fight goes on.
Under a half a minute in round number 7. Frankie Swindell not in any real trouble throughout the entire fight. Nonetheless, it has been Zolkin who's had total control of the fight, though, almost literally from round 1. The end of round number 4 was about the only time Swindell tried to at least make a real fight at it. Kind of touched his hot button there for a moment. Didn't carry over in the 5th and 6th rounds, and now fighting to the end of round number 7.
Hey!
You follow Frankie Swindell to his corner, 235 pounds, 5'10 and a half. And who's been in the ring with, as we've already alluded to, several outstanding fighters and had his best shot at winning a world title. They've all gone by the boards and now elected not to set up at the stand during this round, which is something that he had not done.
You're looking real good, big guy. You
over there checking the round. Had to turn his head a little bit to see what the round hard girl was bringing in the ring there. But and here we are with, they're fighting on the inside here. Zolkin's fighting him, and even though he got hit with a couple of right hooks there, he kind of, pushed Frankie there, and here's another combination thrown by Zolkin. Straight left hand, come back with the right jab.
Keep beating on it. That's all.
Forcing Frankie to fight more in this fight here, and I think he's going to do more of the same in this round.
It almost looks like it's just a matter of time as you take a look at Bob Arama. And, of course, Top Rank promoting this along with Cedric Kushner here in Vegas today.
The Sheik, as he's affectionately called by his staff.
Well, moving from the East Coast to Las Vegas, Nevada, with his offices here, Sam Smith along with Bob Spagnola, spanning the globe of the United States from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Galveston, Texas, to come aboard with you today. And glad you could join us here for our heavyweight explosion. And we've seen a couple of the heavyweights, in particular Zolkin, who is one of those that may be on the cusp, so to speak, of starting to get the fights that he needs and start to polish his skills to become one of those that could indeed someday be a challenger for the world heavyweight title.
You can hear, from the point of contact of his punches with Frankie Swindell. He's kind of settled down. He's shortened up the distance. I think he's satisfied with the Frankie's not dangerous at this point in the fight. He's going to get in there and make him rumble, and the crowd won't be booing Alex Zolkin here. He's been the one doing most of the fighting in here today and trying to make something happen.
Just to equate this fight a little bit to the world of tennis, if you will, if you've ever played a tennis player that you had your game going pretty well, it seemed like everything you hit to the baseline, he was able to get it back. Same thing with Zolkin. He's been able to hit a lot of shots to the baseline, but Swindell's been back there and gotten everything back at you and continues just to be there. They've been able to put him away.
Yeah, but he's landing solid shots on Frankie right now. I promise they're having a satisfied
trying to climb it up here a little bit. He's taking some good punches by Zolkin and just inviting the big Russian to come in to throw a little more here.
Yeah, I think Frankie's using every trick in the book, but he's not fighting so much, but he's using all the bravado and everything to try to get Zolkin out of his rhythm here, but he hasn't been as successful. And here we see Zolkin just landing hard shots on Frankie Swindell.
Now watch him when he throws that left hook. The fact that the weight transfer just doesn't quite seem to be all the way transferred onto the toes and able to deliver the power that I think he still has in that left hook before they develop that thing for him.
He's still in a transition. He hasn't completely made it by any means, but you see him doing things as compared to early in his career when he was initially making the transition. He's doing much better right now, but he still has work to do. You can see him shifting his weight, and when a fighter sees you shift, your legs, he knows what you're going to do with that weight, and it'll take you out of the position you're trying to get yourself into.
Swindell is just able to throw a little wake-up call every once in a while. That little right hook that you saw get in there on top of Zolkin after he got about a 3 or 4 or 5 punch combination in on Swindell. Frankie just kind of bows out and then throws that right hook out of nowhere. That catches the Russian national champion right on the side of the face, backs him up for a moment, and then he comes right back in for more. As they near the end of round number 8, it has been all Alexander Zolkin today.
Watch behind the head, okay?
Well, an interesting little scenario by Frankie Swindell, almost to the point of turning his back on Zolkin at the end of the round.
Right, but he shifted himself and turned all the way in the other direction and looped the big right hand. His best, maybe his only shot, landing on the round. But you see him turning Zolkin. Zolkin, he's kind of hiding on him, as they say. He's down at that low angle, and he's hiding on him. Turning, but he's all aware of where he is, turning him, letting him follow him, and then boom, comes with that right hand counter. Got to put an exclamation point on that round.
This is from another angle. Look how he just kind of turns away from him and kind of hides for a minute and just kind of loops that right hand. There's that right hook. He just kind of scores with every once in a while. Not enough to affect his fight as they are talking to Swindell. Again, he has not been on the stool for about the last 3 or 4 rounds now. Trying to save whatever he's got over in that corner as he gets ready to answer the bell for the 9th round. Cedric Kushner production. And yours truly, Sam Smith, along with Bob Spagnola. Glad you could join us today for our heavyweight explosion. Frankie Swindell on the left in the black, along with Alexander Zolkin, young Russian fighter, the national champion, fighting out of Columbus, Ohio now. And as they're scheduled to go 10 rounds, they're in the 9th round, and we'll find out if indeed the Russian can get an opportunity to put him away here.
Yeah, well, he's over there. He looped that shot. He didn't throw it straight that time. He looped that. But Swindell's still playing a little passive. He's not, you can just try to go so many times to get in there and threaten something like that, but I think he's doing a good job. You see the positioning of the feet right there. Zolkin's got his lead foot on the outside of Frankie's. He's really got everything going for him.
You can see the big Russian amateur champion who now has turned pro after moving to the States in 1990. Actually moved to Canada, fighting a lot of his fights, not only in the States, but Canada and the Bahamas as well. And he is really trying to tee off on his 17th victory today here in round 9. And his corner encouraging this to keep on working.
He's doing a good job here on Frankie Swindell, and just, he's all the way off to the other side right now. Pivoting around to the side on Frankie. But Frankie's going to settle right back onto the ropes. It's really the only place that is, and there's that body. That's what he needs to do. Rip that uppercut to the belly on Swindell's. Frankie looking to counter with one big right hand, but really he's overmatched and outgunned here at this stage of the fight.
Kenny Bayless, who has been rather judicious in his step-ins, does for one of the few times here. A couple of times in this round, and that's about the only time we ever see him. And again, Zolkin bouncing back into the ropes, where Swindell wants to be, but again, Zolkin's very accommodating. He said, well, that's the deal. Here I come.
Yeah, Zolkin really is landing heavy shots right on the point. Right on the point right now. Frankie looking a lot worse for the wear back there, but still got the heart, and he ducks his head underneath that shot there. But at this point in time, it's just survival by Swindell, and he knows if he doesn't do something in there, that Kenny Bayless is going to step in and stop this fight because it's getting real one-sided.
You can see Swindell just really resting on the near the closing seconds of the ninth round. Swindell appears to have made it to the 10th round.
It hasn't been much fun here. This ninth round has really been a good, even though Swindell's landed a couple of good counter shots, Zolkin's looking fabulous here.
Well, Swindell won't have far to walk, because that's the end of round 9 in this corner.
I think he knew that, Sam.
Frankie Swindell, he very casually walked it over there. You can see it cut underneath that left eye, which is a little problem. He's screaming for some more water here.
Don't lean in there.
He's talking to the physician who was coming in. He's taking a look, answering the question. All right, he said, I'm all right. He wants to continue and fight the 10th round. And the doctor is obliged, and he's now stepping out.
You hear me?
Other side, just kind of keeping the fighter for the most part focused, because he's doing what he needs to do. He's getting the punches in. He's getting the work. And I don't think he looks like he's frustrated at the moment. So they're just trying to keep him focused to finish this the 10th and final round here, I think, Bob.
Yeah, I don't think there's any frustration. Actually, he's been doing better and better as the fight has gone on. He's added more and more his way. He's knocked out everybody.
Touch-up. This is the 10th and final round of this portion of our heavyweight explosion. And Alexander Zolkin on the right has proved that he will be seen many more times. He'll move his record to 17-2. Frankie Swindell, the journeyman now, will lose for only the 12th time in the cards still as according they should. But Zolkin again has done the workmanlike job here this afternoon as he fights in the final 3 minutes.
You see that Alex picked up a little welt underneath his eye, compliments of the right-hand counters that Frankie Swindell landed in that last round, which really is more of it actually as a result of Zolkin really pressuring Swindell and making him fight than anything else. And here he starts this round too. You can see Frankie's legs are locking up on him. It's just an accumulation of 9.5 rounds of beating that this guy has put on him, and he lands another straight left.
It's almost that point you try to turn, and all of a sudden your legs are going in the wrong direction, and they were there for Swindell.
And when they betray you, it's the most natural thing in the world to do. Look at that body of Swindell's, is so open. They'd like to see Alex go down there and rip that straight left hand down to that body that now Frankie's got no protection on that.
Swindell has been stopped 5 times in his open losses. He went down in the 6th round a couple of times, down in the 8th, the 11th, and the 3rd. In the earlier fights that he had lost by a knockout, but it does not appear he'll go down today, at least at the moment it doesn't.
No, in several of those fights he was stopped on cuts, and then he was stopped on conditioning in the other ones. The Alpole fight, Cole just ran him out there, and after about 7 or 8 rounds, Frankie was defenseless, and there's a good body shot. Really freezes up Swindell again. Zolkin should step back a little bit and leave himself some punching room.
walk back out of there again.
Right. A lot of times fighters get in there and in their zest to get the job done, they smother their own punches, and it really is you can use all your own strength pushing yourself off.
Swindell, you can see a beaten man here this afternoon. 30-year-old from Nashville, Tennessee, and the young, well, 29-year-old Zolkin, so he's been around the block a few years. On the verge again, however, moving to 17-2. Making it very much a statement this afternoon that he too is one of those winners.
Exclamation point on it. He couldn't do anything here to win this fight, but he's talking about something like a little bit bigger. Not a whole lot better than I was.
And you can see him coming out in the middle of the round now, in the ring now, and you can see how wobbly he is. He has given it his all here today, but it's been Zolkin. And they will count it down to the end of the 10th round. And there it is. Alexander Zolkin again will come this way, while Frankie Swindell again going the full 10 here with the former Russian national champion going over for the sportsmanlike handshake around in that corner. And again, Zolkin, your impressions of Alexander Zolkin here this afternoon, Bob, on the way that he has come on since he arrived in the States back in 1990.
Oh, really? I think I've watched him throughout his career. I think they've done a very good job. They haven't rushed him. They're taking their time, and they haven't, given up on him after 2 tough decision losses. They're still behind him here. They still have high hopes for the kid, and I think that's as important as anything else.
So as they wait for the official decision, it's just a matter of putting the numbers together. And Michael Buffer has that up in the center of the ring. Here's the official decision on this afternoon's card.
Ladies and gentlemen, all 3 judges, Glenn Trowbridge, Al Siciliano, and Bill Belegia, score the bout 100-90 for the winner by unanimous decision, Alexander Zolkin.
We're going to get out by the same corner. Okay, buddy? We're going to get out.
Well, there you have it once again with the decision finally going, a unanimous decision going to Alexander Zolkin.